Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my ranking of the Child's Play movies. 8 movies. I'm going to start with my least favourite and work to my best, and this goes without saying, this is a subjective thing, so please no hatred for my choices. I know you probably want to dish some out. I don't quite feel the same way about these films as most fans, it must be said, as I've found out this week. But yeah, 8 films, let's get into it. At number 8, we're going with Cult of Chucky. Yes, this is the last Don Mancini film. I believe he is making another one apparently, despite the new series that is also running concurrent with it. But yeah, I still gave this a 3-star rating, so I would still recommend it. I enjoyed it. There is things in it to enjoy. I just think like the film's a bit of a mess. It changes the law of well, the rules, I guess, of what Chucky can do. A bit too late in the day. Like, I get the fact that it's something even he's only just learnt, but really, after all this time, you learn it now. But yeah, okay, it's good. I still think Fiona Dourif is pretty good in it. She obviously starred in Curse of Chucky before this one. She was very good in that as well. I like the fact that they're going with her kind of thing as a main focus now in the franchise. So yeah, she's a chip off the old block. Let's just say that. I like that they bring Andy back, the original Andy. It's just, yeah, I feel like it's just a bit too much going on, a bit too much kind of crammed in there in an attempt to get all these characters from the different films somehow together. But like I say, still entertaining. It just has maybe as well a little bit of a direct-to-DVD quality about it, which obviously it would do because it was a direct-to-DVD movie. At number 7, we've got the Remake, the film that is currently playing in cinemas. Again, I liked it just about. I gave it a 3-star rating. I think most of the stuff that goes against it is just the changes, I guess. I think there is value in doing that. I think there is value in, if you're going to do a remake, change it, make it completely different. I think that's the best way to do it, to be honest. But those changes still need to have impact. And I felt like with this film, they don't. The horror elements, anyway. I think thematically the film works very well. I just feel like the horror elements, which are a pretty big part of a horror film, are not that strong. And a lot of the characters are very much either annoying or just redundant. At number 6, we've got Child's Play 3. Yeah, this is one that it's one of the first ones I saw. I think I saw this before Child's Play 2 back in the day. I remember a lot of controversy around it. But yeah, when I watched it, I was like, it's all right. I thought it was a bit naff, to be honest, but I saw it again recently because I did kind of binge watch all the Chucky films, and it did have more going for it this time around. I do think the main cast, pretty much all the cast in it, are not great, shall we say. I know the guy who plays Andy in this was like Jimmy Olsen in the 90s Superman series. It's the only thing I remember him from, to be honest. But yeah, it's not great on that front. I know David Duchovny's girlfriend is in this as well. I only know her from an episode of The X-Files, but again, she's not the best actress, must be said. She's not great. There's a little kid in this as well that gets the doll sent to him. Begs the question how Chucky got into the package. He mails himself to this to Andy basically, but this kid intercepts it, and it's like, how exactly did you get inside that package? But yeah, there you go. It's a bit like the whole Shawshank poster on the wall thing, but yeah, that kid's annoying. For me, he's really, really irritating. I find him so irritating, mostly because I feel like he's of an age where this toy should now kind of maybe be behind him. I don't know. For me personally, he feels a bit too old to be getting so excited over a Chucky doll. The same goes for the new one as well, to be honest. The 12-year-old Mark. Like, there's some scenes in that where he's kind of playing outside with it on his own. I find it a little hard to believe that someone isn't going to come across and bully him for that. But yeah, there you go. So the third one, it's got a good climax to it, I think. I think what Chucky does with the ammunition, when he swaps all the ammunition over, and then they go to the fun house and it kind of all plays out there. I like that climax. I think I like that, to be honest, more than the second one as far as the climax goes, but everything else leading up to it, not as much. Which brings me to my number 5 choice, and perhaps the most controversial choice on this list, Child's Play 2. Yes, I know this is a favourite for probably most Child's Play fans, I don't know, but yeah, certainly the ones I know seem to think this is the best of the franchise. For me, not so much. I thought they lost something not having the mother in it. Instead, we get this kind of surrogate sister that, yeah, Andy's placed into this foster home, and he has this kind of surrogate sister. I never quite warmed to her character all that much. I also find the way in which Chucky is brought back to be a little contrived, maybe a lot contrived. It's kind of this black box thing, and they rebuild him, you know, despite how damaged he was in the first film, like ridiculously so. They rebuild him in order to test the black box inside him, and it's just like, really? You need to rebuild an entire doll? You'd go to the trouble of doing that just to check the black box inside. Surely if it's a computer, if it's data, you could just hook that thing up to a computer and do some kind of diagnostic test. It just, yeah. But, you know, hey-ho, how else do you get the doll back? There's lots of other stuff as well in it, little things that just kind of bug me a bit, that feel like very heavy-handed. Like when the foster parents are taking Andy home, there doesn't seem to be any other cars on the road, and yet this massive good guy doll's truck goes past and sets him off on one. And you're just like, how many of these flipping things are there? Like the way that they show you things at the beginning of this film, you'd think that literally good guy dolls are the only thing out, the only product being sold on the planet right now. It's just everywhere and nothing else. So yeah, just little stuff like that. I don't feel we're given enough chance to care about the foster parents as well, build any kind of relationship up with them, and I don't really want to either, because again, like I said, I'd rather have Andy's mother back. So yeah, there's other stuff like the characters that, like in the factory at the end, this guy comes in to fix the machine that's broken, and he's literally just, he interrupts the action as essentially just to get another victim in there for Chucky to kill. He's not an essential part of the film. He's not a character that we know of. He's literally thrown into a scene just for the sake of having another kill. It's very 80s, I guess, but yeah, there's loads of little things like that. I still think it's an entertaining film. It's certainly, like I say, better than the ones I've already put on this list. I just don't think it deserves quite the praise that everyone seems to give it. I think it's a very average film, if I'm being perfectly honest. So we get into my top 4 now. Number 4 is probably my next most controversial pick on my list. It is, of course, Seed of Chucky. I know that this is the one that most people say is the Freddy's Dead of the franchise, and I watched this for the first time recently, just the other day actually, and I wasn't looking forward to it. All I've ever heard are bad things about it. And I think maybe that worked in my favour. I don't know, worked in the film's favour, I should say, because I went into this thing with the lowest expectations. They could not have been any lower. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But I had a blast with it. And I felt like the tone wasn't that different, to be honest, to what had been set up in Bride of Chucky. You know, Mancini clearly took the film in a completely different direction with Bride of Chucky. There was a lot more humour in that. There was a lot more kind of self-referencing, a lot more kind of, just pop cultural kind of stuff and just winking at the audience and things like that. And all he does is carry that on here, but take it maybe a little bit more to the next level. I found it entertaining. I was expecting to find Glenda really annoying. Like I say, I just only ever heard about the film. I'd never seen it. And based on what people were saying, I was expecting to come away really hating this character. But what he brings to the film, what he kind of, the dynamic that he thrusts into the middle of Tiffany and Chucky and how we see the opposite sides of them in the way they want to kind of raise him, her. It's entertaining. It's amusing. I don't know how anyone who's a fan of this franchise can not enjoy this and just have a blast with it. Just as sheer entertainment. That's just me. What can I say? I know a lot of people they want straight, serious, dark, down the line. And for me, I feel like when this series is just trying to play it serious, I feel it's a bit too, well, it's not self-aware enough. That's the problem. It's not aware of its own ridiculousness, the concept of it. And I feel by embracing that ridiculousness, pointing it out, acknowledging it, you kind of cover a multitude of sins in many ways. So there's a lot of things in this film that yes, they're ridiculous, they're stupid, they're badly written, but they call that out, whereas they don't call that out in the more serious entries. They expect you to go along with it, and as a result of that, I see the flaws more. Whereas here I'm able to brush over them. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well enough there, but that's just the way I feel about it. I was entertained, I had a blast. I didn't find all the jokes in it funny, but I laughed enough times for me to think, I don't get the hate. At number 3, we've got Curse of Chucky. So this is the first entry to bring Fiona Dourif, Brad Dourif's daughter, into the franchise. I think from a plot standpoint, the film is really well done. I think there's a lot of elements in it where it kind of makes me roll my eyes because I don't like where they're going. But then they throw some curveballs, they throw some surprises. There's some moments where you're like, how are they going to explain that? And they do manage to explain certain things, maybe a bit exposition heavy, but still from a plotting standpoint, I think it is one of the best in the franchise. The thing that lets it down a little bit for me is I do feel a little bit of, I guess, Don Mancini's, I mean, I'm only assuming this, but I'm picking it up based on what I'm getting from the film. A bit of an attack there on religion. I get the feeling he's not particularly a fan of religion, organised religion or anything. Basically any character in this film who has a faith turns out to be a bit of a scumbag. And like I say, our main character, played by Dourif, Fiona Dourif, she is someone who's kind of given up on faith, and she is our hero. So yeah, that kind of element I'm not particularly fond of. But other than that, from a plotting standpoint, from a horror standpoint, from Chucky himself, his attitude, the performance there, the vocal performance from Dourif, the puppetry on him, and like I say, the curveballs they throw with some of the characters make for a really entertaining entry into the series. At number 2, we've got Bride of Chucky. So this is the film that, as I say, kind of took the series in a new direction, became a bit more self-aware, kind of pointed out the ridiculousness of just the concept, really. And because of that, I think it worked a bit better. I think it was very much influenced by Scream, as a lot of films were at this time. I think horror movies realised that they had to be a bit more self-aware, just because a lot of the time, a lot of the situations in horror movies are ridiculous, especially when you get to sequels, when things happen time and time again, it does get more ridiculous. And by pointing that out and playing with it, having fun with it, it makes for a very entertaining movie. It's not perfect. It's still, like I say, all of these so far, I would only say are 3-star movies. They're good, they're entertaining, but they're nothing particularly special as far as the horror overall is concerned. It's one of them franchises you can just sit back, relax, enjoy, have a bit of fun with. And this, I would say, is probably the most fun entry, along with Seed. I know people would disagree with me on that one, but yeah, I like the character of Tiffany, how they bring her into it. There are some parts in it that are a bit cringy. The fella that she's with at the start of the film, before she kind of goes off with Chucky, he's a bit just weird and annoying, and so there's a few things like that. But overall, no, it's a good entry. It goes some wacky places. So Bride of Chucky for me is my number 2, just because of the sheer entertainment value. I do think that, and as you can probably guess, my number 1 choice is the original film. But I do think that other than that original film, this franchise does play best when it goes the more comedy route. For me personally, I get, if on a subjective level, if you prefer it to be more dark, serious, I understand that, and that's fair enough. But for me personally, I just find that I think it works better when it does call attention to its own ridiculousness. Except, as I say, that first film, which for me is easily, far and away, the best film in this series. I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's one that kind of struck a chord with me very early on. I watched it when I was about 9 years old, possibly 8. And I just loved it. Me and my family loved it. It's one that I used to watch quite a lot with my dad and my brothers. And I just had a blast with it from a very early age. Just the concept, it's ridiculous, but it just works. And I think a lot of that, the primary reason for that is Tom Holland's direction. I think he has a good handle of the material. It's a shame that they couldn't get him to come back and do another one. I know Don Mancini's pretty much taken over it, the Brad Dourif iteration at any rate. But I think Tom Holland brought a lot to that original film, particularly the relationship between Andy and his mother. And the film does play on fears of parenthood, really. If the remake today kind of looks into the lack of responsible parents, the lack of responsible adults in children's lives, I think this one, the original, it looks at the fear, I think, that parents have a particular kind of fear, which is that their children may be losing it, their children may be psychotic. There's a little bit of that in the new one. Obviously, they do go there a little bit, but here, that is definitely the overriding element, I think. That just this, to put yourself in the mother's situation of, this kid, people keep dying around them, this kid's blaming the doll, either he's crazy or he's telling the truth. And quite frankly, a doll going around killing people is unbelievable. So yeah, I think every parent's nightmare is to imagine bringing up a psycho, really. You know, you put everything, you invest everything you can into your child, and if they grow up to be a serial killer, it's like all that work you put in. Yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of parents will have considered. If it hasn't gone through their minds, I would be quite surprised. It's certainly gone through mine anyway, as a parent. But yeah, that's a theme that kind of goes through the film. I think it's dealt with really well. I like the characters. I think the kid, Andy, is very good in it. I like how young he is as well. I like that he is genuinely a very young child. And yeah, I think that kind of amps up the tension a bit more, seeing just this young kid being threatened by this serial killer doll. So yeah, it's great. Really great film. It's one I always go back to. Definitely the best of the franchise. But what about you? That was my ranking. What is yours? Leave yours down below in the comments section. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.